Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After that enriching discussion with regard to our previous panel discussion, let's now actually get into another important topic, because as much as we let technology gather insights with regard to our behavior patterns, or for that matter, generally, run our organizations, one shift of mindset definitely goes towards the cybersecurity. While we've been gathering insights, while we've been learning a lot over it over the last few years, let's try to understand cybersecurity for the future, which is all about balancing technology intelligence with that of human intelligence. Now, to spearhead this panel discussion, we have with us Mr. Kapil Mehrotra, Group CTO, National Commodities Management Services Limited, who is a hands-on IT professional with about 24 years of experience in the BFSI, healthcare, IT consulting, and agri-tech domain. So he will be spearheading this panel discussion that features some amazing set of panelists as well, including Mr. Pawan Chawla, CXO with Future Generali India Life Insurance Company Limited, who is a seasoned professional with overall experience of more than 20 years in companies of diverse sizes, from micro to large MNCs in diverse sectors. We also have with us Mr. Makesh Chandramohan, CXO, Aditya Birla Capital Limited, an experienced IT professional with more than 17 years of experience across cybersecurity, data privacy, business continuity, and operational risk management across industry verticals. We also have the presence of Mr. Satyavrat Mishra, AVP Corporate IT, Godrej Industries Limited, who comes with more than 19 years of experience and is known for strategic IT transformations and positively impacting viability and the performance. Amongst all the panelists, we are also joined by Mr. Amarjeet Khanuja, CXO, Star Health and Allied Insurance Company Limited. He's a learner with more than 2.5 decades of hands-on progressive experience with actionable results in the field of technology and consulting. And we also have with us Mr. V.R. Iyer, Group CIO and EVP-IT, JBM Group. In fact, Mr. Iyer is a techno-functional and senior managerial resource who comes with more than 30 years of experience in the technology domain. We're also joined by Mr. Ajay Chawla, Head IT and Infosec, Sterlite Technologies Limited. He's a senior management professional with experience in leading small and large teams in the Indian and global set of companies. And that leaves me with the final panelist. We have with us Mr. Dheepak Rajoo, SVP IT Head, RBL Bank. And Mr. Dheepak is dynamic boundary pushing leader with more than 21 years of experience in the technology, business, and IT transformation space. So with that, let's actually deep dive into our next discussion all about cybersecurity for the future. But let's bring you back to the present and bring all our set of panelists on board, and let's get the session started right now.
Live now.
Are we live now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you everyone. And I hope everybody had a great day and staying safe. Welcome in very exciting panel discussion about topic cybersecurity for the future, balancing technology, intelligence with human intelligence. It is a very relevant topic in today's time. A lot of people talking about advanced threat detection, intelligence, and defense system. In order to say secure still business continuity is most important priority. We are not far from the reality where digital solution adopted today, post-COVID era, work from home become the new norm. But all of a sudden, security is one of the key asked by everyone. Most of the companies are putting 100% effort and focusing on doing digital transformation post-COVID, but nearly more than 70% companies still having lack of cybersecurity strategy. Even some of them had adopted but best security tool, but without human intelligence, it is not possible. As digital technology continues to disrupt the competitive landscape, similarly, threat landscape grow day by day. companies are under constant pressure to implement threat detection, intelligence, and defense system because of lack of human intelligence. Today, we have a lot of questions related to balancing technology intelligence with human intelligence, which will be answered by our eminent panel. Let me take opportunity to uh, ask first question with Pawan. Pawan, you are in insurance industry, and I like to ask first question with you: which shift in business attackers have it also evolved? Combining automation with hands-on techniques, what are the implementation of the changes threat landscape, and how prepared is your organization to tackle today's threat? Over to you, Pawan.
Thanks, Kapil, and looking forward to a very, very interesting discussion here. This is a very hot topic, and when I say hot topic, it's not that it's a burning topic, but yeah, it is a very interesting topic which covers a lot of things which are required in the organization to overcome all the challenges which organization must be facing today. And similarly, we also faced when we moved into this particular, when we moved into pandemic and started working from home. Now, we before we balance the digital transformation with the human intelligence, it is very important to understand how the hackers have changed over a period of time as well. Where if you see in many reports, it was already published in 2022. Sorry, in 2020. There are more than 500 domains which have been registered every day. Now, those domains are not for the business. They are been majority of them, in fact, more than 90% of them were registered by hackers to contain malicious attacks towards the organization. Now, that is one aspect of it to target any organization where through email, through phishing websites, the organization can be targeted. These are the easiest way to look at it. And similarly, if you do along with that, the phishing attack, which is voice over phishing attacks, have also increased, and also the SMS attacks, smishing that we call it, have also increased over a period of time. Now, why they have increased is because hackers have evolved as well. And another important aspect which have increased, and you might have seen last year, and including in the second, up to the second quarter of this year, if I take the financial year from January to December, the ransomware of attacks in multi-folds as well. Interesting thing which has changed from the hacker perspective is now the hackers have become extortionists as well. So they are not only encrypting your data, but they are stealing your data as well. So after you pay the ransom to decrypt the data, by that time they have already taken your data out, and later they will again blackmail you to give money to give you back that data as well. Otherwise, they will put in the darknet. So so you see that how they are making the money. Another interesting fact I would like to highlight here, which is an evolution which had happened in the dark web, I would say, dark and deep web, which has happened is now you can have a ransomware bot purchased for as less as $40, or you can hire a hacker to plot ransomware in any organization as less than $10. So look at from millions where you used to spend to decrypt your data while paying ransom to hackers. Now the people have started hiring hackers to plot it to their competitors and other things. That's how how fast these things are evolving. And in cybersecurity, we always talk about three aspects: people, process, and technology. Whereas if you what we look at is as an organization and as an individual, I always recommend to look at the fourth component, which is the external world. By external world, I mean is the deep and dark web, because it is very important to see how they are seeing your organization from that particular world. You can protect what you know, which comes as a part of people, process, and technology. But if you don't know what they see, is something which you need to concentrate on and protect that on as well. And to answer your second part of the question, that the steps which we have taken to protect ourselves is, apart from people, process, and technology, we have spent a good amount of time in learning what hacker thinks, how we can protect ourselves, what they see as our organization, what are the loopholes which we are not aware of, and we need to fix them very, very quickly and very proactively. So rather than being a reactive organization, we moved into a proactive organization. There are still space to grow, and there's still space to overcome certain challenges. But yes, that's one aspect which needs to be looked at, and that needs to be concentrated upon. Another important aspect I would like to add here, I will take another minute, is when we talk about protecting the organization is, if you see any attack which had happened is user by any user clicking on a malicious link or submitting data somewhere. Now, educating your user becomes a very important aspect here as well. You need to ensure that and that's the practice which we have been following, is educating our user with the latest attacks, circulating all the emailers, creating simulation internally, and educating them as part of our information security awareness, so that they know they know about the latest attacks and how they can protect themselves from being a victim of such kind of an attack.
Right. So you well said, Pawan. I mean, one of the thing, like, I totally agree. Like, awareness is one of the thing, like, which has to be spreaded across, and more awareness, if you spread, you will reduce the risk. I totally agree. And other thing is, like, ransom as a service is very popular nowadays. Days. Anyone can go to the basically dark web and they can basically use ransom as a service. What Pawan was mentioning is like $10 and the $14. It is real. I mean, anyone can go and use the credit card and download the ransom and spread across. Thank you, Pawan. With this, like, I will move to the Makesh. And Makesh, uh, question to you is, looking at new cutting edge cybersecurity solution like XDR and EDR, what is your thought for adoption and how technology intelligence balance human intelligence? Because everybody knows, like, you can bring new technology, but if you don't have skill set available and human intelligence, so you cannot basically proceed further. So what is your thought about that?
Uh, Thanks, Kapil. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree with you. I think anybody can bring the technology, but how to use that, how to squeeze value out of it, it's something a different ballgame altogether, right? And an XDR, EDR kind of scenario is not going to be much different from any other technologies, right? So it depends upon the organization maturity, organization skills, and where they stand at this point in time. Based on that, I think they can opt for the services. But as I was talking to some of my peers as well, I want to tell, I think XDR is something, yes, there are a lot of things which only time will answer. Right now, I think there are a lot of overlappings, which I have told in the past also, between the XDR concept and SIM. SIM is actually having overlapping features, which XDR as a concept, which it provides. But definitely one is not going to eat the other one. But yes, of course, I think we need to wait and watch how things are getting materialized. But EDR is definitely a good point to start with, because it provides a lot of telemetry information, which normally by any other agents is not available at this point in time. So in addition to protecting this from the 0 days and fileless malwares, it also provides a lot of telemetry, which can be very, very useful in terms of threat intelligence, which it can gather, and utilize that, correlate with the other SIM logs and see how much value we can bring to the table. One of the idea is, like, as I was talking about it, I think we can actually break the whole environment into multiple buckets based on the risk exposures and the risk appetite, what we have for that particular group of segment, and see whether we can onboard an MDR service for certain set of bucket of users and the devices. And for certain devices, try and see whether you can actually onboard the journey with your existing team. Because obviously, I think the way the telemetry is being captured, it's not humanly possible for anybody to look at it and make a meaningful action out of it unless you have a lot of automation built around the solutions, which is happening. I think in today's context, most of the EDR vendors are coming up with both MDR as a service, but at the same time, they're also coming up with a lot of automations which can be built. Though it has positive and negative both, I think we need to see how much we can fine tune and evolve over the period of time to implement the automation on that front. And as you told rightly, I think human intelligence plays a very, very important role and ensures that the automation doesn't impact your existing environment or the existing BAU activities. That's more important.
Yeah, Makesh, looking at the current scenario wherein like IT is very evolved and we have a lot of shortage of resources. So are you facing such kind of challenges? Because across industry, I'm hearing it like this is the one of the challenge they have. So what is your thought? I mean, are you also facing this kind of similar challenge or experienced anything?
I think nobody will be spared, Kapil. In today's context, the demand supply gap is very huge.
Right.
And second is like a constant upskilling is a must today, right? Being in this profile for quite some time, I know this is one of the most dynamic space because we depend on what happens in our neighborhood, in our environment, right?
Right.
So when we talk about digitalization, I think, of course, I think we need to quickly upskill about what is digitalization all about, what kind of new threat exposures are coming, whatever new risk exposures are coming, how the threat landscape is getting changed. Because people move from on-premises to cloud, there are new set of challenges, new set of risk exposures which organization might be facing. There are a lot of artificial intelligence which is getting incorporated. There are RPOs which are getting incorporated. Every component of this technology has a different threats and risk exposures allocated to that or accompanied with that. So obviously, as a CISO function, as an Infosec professional, I think we need to have a constant upskilling. And we as a managers, we as a professionals, I think we should ensure our teams also get that opportunity and the platform where they can constantly upskill. That's a must. Second is like you can actually ride with an SMEs outside the organization for a time being, and slowly you can groom your existing team to upskill and reach to the level where you can really look up to yourself.
Excellent. So I totally agree what you're saying is upskilling the resources in-house is one of the best way of actually eliminate this kind of situation. We'll come back to you, Makesh. Moving on to Satyavrat. I have a special question for you. Have you allocated enough resources to properly address the most significant cybersecurity threats? What especially you have done for your organization?
Yeah, so thanks, Kapil. So I'll address it in two parts. What are the significant cyber threats first, and then what we are doing to allocate resources, both in terms of fund allocation as well as human resources. The key cybersecurity threats, typically it's an exercise that we take up at the beginning of the year, and given the current scenario in the given context of work from home, digital adoption, and cloud adoption. Some of the key things that we are working on this year is obviously, we being a manufacturing organization as well, OT security is one of our top priority this year, and that is one area that we are taking up. Along with that, cloud security, because a lot of workloads are now moving towards Azure and AWS. So, taking care of cloud security posture management, that is another area. We worked on the work from home and secure work from home jetty in a kind of architecture last year itself. However, this year again the focus is to take it to the next level, the entire zero trust journey, and working towards micro segmentation. So that is another area that we are working on. And finally, it's about the digital risk management, as Pawan was talking about. Digital footprint, looking at the dark web, etc. Because while we have, we are a conglomerate, so obviously we have more than 4,000 to 5,000, digital assets which are public available. However, there are always, spurious sites which come up, fake sites, especially in the properties. Godrej properties typically faces this kind of problem. So these are, a couple of, prioritized areas for this financial year, and the way we go about, allocating resources. Typically it's a very formal process. While I would say in security budget is never enough, but we are fortunate enough that we have a very laid down structure, and board is also very, very supportive. So we have been presenting all these risks which are there towards the organization, and they have been supportive and have given adequate funds. Human resource, I would say, has always been the difficult part. The only way that we try to address is to be with some of the MSSP partners, the large ones, which would have adequate resources. So, because in-house, obviously, we have very thin, structured organization. So we do not have in-house, enough resources, but we try and rely on these MSSP partners. And I would say that, yeah, I mean, the area of OT security, especially, I would say, from a resource perspective, obviously it's an area which is new to us as well, because typically IT and security teams have not really been involved in this. Only in the last couple of years, when this IT OT merger has happened and new initiatives have been taken, now that we are getting into it. So that's an area where we are taking help from the specific skilled set of organization which deal in this particular area. So that has been our approach, but predominantly the one good thing that we have done over last 1.5 years is that we have moved away from a shared services model to a dedicated model. So now that these set of 7 to 8 people, security SOC analysts, they are dedicated 24/7 working for us, because in the last couple of 1.5 years we have seen that significant number of threats are also we have seen in the organization, and therefore it is important that these people work on a dedicated model rather than relying on a shared services model. So that has been the key change in the last 1 month.
Very interesting, and probably we have a less time today. Otherwise, I wanted to hear more success stories from you, because it's not easy from the share to the individual capacity building. It's not that easy. I mean, and you are working on the OTs as well. So that's one of the latest term buzzword which is around actually. So we'll come back to you, Satyavrat. We will hear more from you. Moving on to Amarjeet, and he's veteran and he's basically belongs to the insurance sector. So Mr. Amarjeet, I have a question for you. Insurance sector is most regulated sector. Let us know how various insurance companies are complying with cyber regulatory requirements under guidance of IRDA.
Thank you, Kapil, for this interesting question. I will answer this question in a very holistic manner. See, we as an insurance company, we try to build our temple of cybersecurity. I'm just quoting the word temple of cybersecurity on the solid principles and foundational cyber assurance guideline frameworks of our sector regulator, IRDA. So the regulator has given us sufficient number of controls. So if we work along with those controls, definitely, and if we are complied to it, definitely we build a solid foundational background and solid foundational footprint. Entity definitely strive to comply with it and adhere to it, both all in letter, word, and spirit. I'm sure all the insurance companies, they are definitely striving not only for compliance, but all exceeding those compliance level and reaching to the best of their versions. So that way, what happens is we help the insurance sector, we serve the nation, we serve the people, and we can say that this entire gamut of this compliance and everything, it also helps in the business innovation and business servicing and business growth. So it is definitely one of the important wheels of business enablement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amarjeet. With this thought, I'm moving to the Mr. V.R. Iyer, and he's veteran also in the manufacturing industry. So I have a very interesting question for you. Do you have a cybersecurity policy for your employees, and how frequently do you update?
Namaste. Namaste to everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. See, policy-wise, you see, as far as manufacturing is concerned, I earlier also, in many of the things I have told, we are really very nascent in stage. Why? Because we were never exposed ourselves to outside world, as Satyavrat already told. We were not earlier. Now what is happening because of OT into place, we are forced to focus more on employee, because many of the work which we are trying to do are to OEMs, where we have a very stringent NDA already signed with them. So the core is the data which is going to come as far engineering is concerned, very essential, which is operated by our respective employees. We have very specific stringent laws for specific department, for example, R&D, engineering, and people who are working more close towards customer and supplier for costing. These are all the three targeted employees where we have many of the solutions which is already in place, although it is not sufficient with the present level of security threats we have, but we have enough knowledge base so that we are in a position to control. Yes, definitely it is that, but how frequently we are bringing corrections is a question mark, because whenever we are getting some very big news outside, we started focusing more on. So that is, but slowly, because of OT's involvement, we are thinking in a different way now, but we are in the learning stage.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm sure, I mean, gradually you will mature, and once the OT thing will come more and more to you, I mean, you will mature your policies.
But policy mature is one, but whether we will be in a position to attain the stage of BFSI or insurance, or if you go for telecom, because outside in view we will take, but we have manufacturing mindset of thought process with some modified way of working because of OT. We may not attain that maturity level as manufacturing is concerned, but yes, we will definitely evolve much better than where we stand today.
Understand. Excellent. Very good thought, and thank you for sharing your thoughts, Mr. Iyer. With this, like, I'm moving to the Ajay. Ajay, I want to understand your top 3 cybersecurity concerns which your business faces today.
Sure. Thank you, Kapil, for this opportunity, and I think a wonderful opportunity for me to listen in. And I think that is where the the main topic which you talk about, balance between technical intelligence and human intelligence. I think it manifests in various forms, right, and is also a huge concern from a human behavior. Like, as we were, we would see that as we are coming to office and we are more in a secluded area, you would find that many people have now dropped the guard most of the time of not wearing masks, etc. So that, again, that human bias and human comfort has started coming in. And that's where the balance, as appropriately you mentioned, Kapil. And, when you talk about 3 threats, whether, already Pawan covered, Satyavrat covered, Mr. Iyer covered, Amarjeet mentioned, Makesh mentioned, I think most of them have covered the 3 things which I also thought. So I'll touch upon them and then go a little bit deeper, and then try to keep it short. So I think phishing/ransomware, I think, plays a big role, and that's where that human bias comes into mind. The training of every person. So in our STL family, which we are into 3 different types of businesses. One is manufacturing, another is services, more EPC kind, and then third is software, where we are going into 5G products and 5G related services. So it's 3 different flavors, and how do you cater to, because each of them goes into a different type. So I think that human factor becomes a very, very paramount, internal human factor, right? As I think Pawan mentioned that the attack is now democratized. Earlier, software was democratized, now the attackers are democratized. You can buy one and, go into that terrorism mode, of really going into, in terms of if the threat can be as big as stopping the manufacturing, if it is so, competitive in this competitive world. So I think that human factor of keeping them as accountable. So we run a tag of awareness of hashtag I am STL security. We keep, pushing it again and again, and we do simulations, and every time we find, but there is a good trend there. Over a period of time, we have seen a slight decrease in the the people who go as far as putting their password, a slight decrease in linking, clicking, and many a times now they are forwarding that mail, simulated mail, to the common email ID, so that awareness is there that should I not. So that is very important, because once the attackers are inside, then it is, a very, very tough game. Nowadays it's all, bots running. It's no longer humans. Most of the attacks are being driven by bots, and they can lie low forever, as we have seen with the whole supply chain from SolarWind, etc. So that is one aspect. Second aspect, I think many of you touched upon, is OT. It's unavoidable. OT is talking. The machine which was completely in the background is coming in the forefront with that data, IoT data getting pulled in, because the use cases, because of the technology point of view, the use cases are so powerful. When we have recently implemented one, within a week's time, we were able to find a machine which was drawing more current even at a low speed because the fan was not working. Now this would have been undetected and the OEE would have been lower, but this is where the need comes. So that's where again that word of balance of keeping the technology which is moving in, you cannot stop it. It's very easy to say that I can sit in a one room and with all controls there, but we have to enable things and put controls. So I think the OT will be a key focus area, both in terms of, as Mr. Iyer said, about policies, people awareness, because those people have not dealt it. There are common user IDs, how do you plug in a USB? All those things have to be controlled in, and these machines are getting connected. How do you keep them physically separated behind DMZ? All those things logically separated to keep as many ports restricted. You can do all that, but again, that human being has to be upskilled to a different level. And the third piece is cloud. I think, again, people have touched upon it. I would drill it down further, that these are typically happening because of the cloud misconfigurations. We are thinking it is a fire and forget, but this is not so. I think it requires a lot more monitoring because there are so many different options and different, APIs. So I would say that, the cloud misconfiguration with, again, that same password. Imagine of a situation that somebody gets hold of that password. He has the whole farm, and it would be a bot probably which will use it. And it would typically happen on these long weekends. So Diwali is coming. Though in India, it's fortunate that there are many holidays and many long weekends, but look from a July 4th long weekend and others, they would be thinking about that it will be unmanned. I have this password, but I will wait for this opportunity and then use it. And it will be typically for crypto mining and everything. And you are up, nothing else, you are in for a big damage from a financial perspective, right? So these are the few things which I thought I'll share, and building on what others.
Excellent. And you gave a very good example, Ajay. Very good example. And I totally agree. I mean, I was reading a trend actually where why hackers always targeting in the night. There's a theory. I don't want to go in a detail, but there is a reason behind it. And the favorite timing is 2 a.m. Can you believe it? The study says the favorite time of the hacker is 2 a.m. I will talk more about, because today we have a very limited time. So with this thought, thank you, Ajay. And moving on to Deepak. Deepak, you are from the bank and you are a veteran. And I have one ask from you. Have we adequately addressed the risk posed by employees? Because in bank, they have a large operation, a lot of employees are working, and they're dealing with the customer data. So what education, training, policies you have it for the internet and devices uses, and how your employees can turn down that risk?
Thank you for having me, Kapil. And I think this is an excellent leading question. And I was just listening and observing to what some of the other panelists were talking about, putting the employee in focus. I think Mr. Iyer touched upon that topic. Ajay was talking about, internalizing the human factor. So I want to just share something that I read. Last year, IBM at a Black Hat event, showcased a $100 device. And this is also, I'm alluding to the, fact that Pawan talked about, the evolution of a hacker and how, today we can have a $10 to $40 ransomware. So this was a $100 device built by IBM on a single chip, a unicomputer, uniboard computer. And they, successfully showcased their ability to hack into a corporate network. What we used to in the olden days call as, war shipping or war loading. This was demonstrated in live, which means that definitely the exposures are becoming more sophisticated. The increasing mail rooms and flooding of the employee mailboxes, this is definitely a competency that we must have our employees to build. Otherwise, they will not have the intelligence to come up with countermeasures, to a particular attack if you're exposed to. I want to just talk about, a couple of things. I think training we talked about enough. Ajay and Mr. Iyer both touched upon, ability to train our employees. I would think that people who are closest to the shipping routes, they are the ones who need to be really trained and empowered. So when there is an attack, what kind of protocols they should follow, what kind of tool sets they need to have, how to come up with these, counter-attacking measures and save your corporate asset. This is extremely important. Secondly, I would tend to think that the messaging to different employees is core, right? How do you, message this to, let's say, about security posturing or the competency or the skills needed at, let's say, the senior management level, at specialist functions like finance or compliance who are dealing with, unpublished price sensitive information and, customer data. How do you communicate this to specialist functions like, procurement, supply chain? They are exposed to a lot of confidential inputs. So you need to be able to message this loud and clear that security posturing is important, and it's all the more important to the first line of defense. IT security, can't be omnipresent at every, breach, every instance, right? So once you train employees, once you communicate the message, to all the stakeholders within an organization, it's a question of empowerment, right? So businesses that are in the shipping routes, the decision can be fairly local. They will be able to basically look at an attack or an exposure, analyze, what has gone wrong, how do they fix, rather than waiting for Infosec to tell them, that this is the way that you need to thwart it, right? First line of defense really need to up their game, because it's no longer, a back room or a back door sort of situations. These situations are fairly, very, very well evolved. Like, given the fact that, all industries have just taken to digital almost overnight, it's highly imperative that businesses, are aware of, cyber resilience and cybersecurity measures.
True, and being a bank, like this is very obvious, like you are in the digital business, and you very appropriately talked about how you are balancing technology intelligence with the human intelligence. The reason is because you are a bank and you are running the large operation and basically handling day and night. Okay, with this thought, I will ask you to hold here and moving on to the Pawan. Pawan, I'm coming back to you, and my question is to you is almost all services now happening through digital channel, and a lot of things shifted to remote working. How are you relooking at the data and security for your organization? One side, Deepak already talked about digital, and now your team is already on a, working from home. So what is your thought, Pawan? Over to you.
Yeah. So there are many solutions which are available, and we have adopted some of the solution to manage. First of all, monitor and then manage and protect the organization from whatever is happening in the organization. Now, we touch based upon technologies when Satyavrat mentioned about XDR, we talked about SOC and other aspects. So these are good to have things. But are these providing, if you put these, will they provide 100% security? So first of all, let me answer that and clarify that there is no 100% security. Whereas Kapil, you talked about putting 100% of effort. Yes, that is there. You can put 110% of effort, but there is no 100% security. Even after putting 110%, 200% of effort, you will still find a place where there are challenges which you need to fix on. And you need to keep on working. It's an evolving process. Now see that what we used to call as a bug in initial days, now people started exploiting those bugs. It has become a vulnerability. The terminology has changed, the methodology has changed. Over a period of time, we have changed as well, right? The way we used to work, the way we are working today, the way we used to monitor, the way we are fixing things. Now, to protect the organization, first and foremost is, I talked about educating your employees. It is not only for your organization, but for each and every individual benefit as well. because the steps which they are going to take, they are going to adopt in their personal life, they will try to adopt that or implement that in your organization as well. So when you create a awareness program, it has to be in such a way that they can adopt it in their day-to-day life. It is not only work-related SMS, phishing emails which they are getting today. If you look at your personal mailbox, there are thousands of phishing emails which you get every day. I still get an email which I used to get 15 years or 20 years back when it started in 1998, I think it started. So since then, I still won $1 million lottery, or some king has died who has left his fortune for me. I still get those kind of email. And till today, people are getting such kind of email. Most of the people have won, if they fill a form, they will get an IPL t-shirt or a, now 2020 World Cup is going on. You might have received that message on WhatsApp or other through a normal SMS as well, that if you fill this form, we'll ship you a free t-shirt, a World Cup t-shirt. So these are all phishing emails which you get, SMS which are going on. So you need to educate your people. Now the second aspect is very important. The second important aspect is when you put an SIM or have an SOC in place, it's not putting that in place solves the problem. The alerts which are getting generated, the incidents which they are reporting into, you need to act on that, those alerts and incidents as well. Until and unless you fix them, you are still or as vulnerable as having an open house or open door in the house where the thief can come in and go. Right now, another since we moved into a work from home environment, we talked about XDR, we talked about EDR. Now they are very good tool, and I would say they are very powerful tool. Now having those in place does not solve your problem. Let me tell you that you need to monitor the user behavior, what they are doing in their desktop, how they are reacting to a particular message which they are receiving, where are they clicking, which websites are they browsing, are there any malware getting downloaded, how many malwares are getting deleted by the XDR or EDR, what sandboxing, what kind of sandboxing is happening, what results are they resulting in, and what output is it giving to you to act upon. Now these are the things which needs to be looked at. Those alerts can still go to the SOC, but it will overburden the SOC or provider. But you need to have a different service to assist you out in that. The fourth aspect which I talked about is educating user what is important for the organization. You need to have a data classification in place. Now, until and unless people understand the importance of data which is there in the organization, they will keep on circulating it all around, and you won't realize. I'll give you an example of Boeing hack, which had happened in 2016. An employee forwarded one of the Excel files to his wife to format that out, put some pivot on it, and the home computer got hacked. And after that, 36,000 employees' social security number was over the internet. Now that's one of the things, it's over the internet, you can read it, it's a public information which I'm sharing, but such kind of incident keep on happening. And you still see when you put a DLP in place, the another aspect you can add on data security is DLP to analyze user behavior, what all information they are forwarding. So these are the controls we also have in place. We have built all this to get visibility of what user is doing, and we are acting upon it. How far we can go, how safe we can keep our organization is still a question. Like I said, there is no 100% security. These are the controls which anybody can put. You can modify rules, you can modify policies on these to give you better visibility, I would say, to protect your organization.
Correct. So totally agree, Pawan, and you rightly said. And with this thought, like I will proceed to the Makesh. Makesh, past 18-20 months, we have observed like there are a lot of demand for the force on us security leaders to change their security strategy. Users are working remotely and servers are being migrated to cloud. How challenging it is to secure everything everywhere, and what are your possible recommendations? Over to you, Makesh. Makesh, can you hear me? I think Makesh has some audio problem. So moving on to Satyavrat, what are the key factors that will enable the threat detection response choice for your organization looking at skill set challenges?
Okay. So I'll keep it brief. So basically, given the fact that in any organization or typically in entire cybersecurity, the number of threat responses are limited, right? It would be maybe 100, 200, 300, depending on the organization and what kind of threats are being seen in that particular organization and what kind of tools and technologies you have in place. One thing that we are looking at is because there's a lot of attrition in the security team, and it takes a really long time for these guys to be trained. We are looking at playbook automation and a SOAR implementation. So typically a playbook would help in decreasing the overall time frame within which a new resource can be trained. So what kind of threat would require what kind of response? That entire playbook has been created. So we've worked out around 350 odd playbooks for each kind of threats and how to respond, because we have the standard set of tools for the team to work on. So that is one thing that we have worked on. And now secondly that we are working on is at least a couple of these could be automated. So we are in the process of exploring a SOAR kind of platform where at least 50 to 60% of the initial work that people have to do for triaging, etc., that can be automated, and then the rest would obviously will fall on the response team to take action, and then it will go back to the actual people like server admins or network admins to take the final action on that. So this is the approach currently that we are following.
Excellent. And looks like Satyavrat, you are doing excellent job. I mean, a lot of innovative things you are doing around. We need more time.
So given the fact that it's a conglomerate, there are 5-6 different organizations, a limited set of people to manage this. So we have to work on doing all of this. So we are working with a couple of partners who have helped us in developing these automated scripts.
Okay. So with this, thank you, Satyavrat. And moving to Amarjeet. Amarjeet, can you explain a little bit about external and internal threats are getting day by day stronger? What best practice you suggest to our peer CIOs friends? Amarjeet.
Yes,
you are
yes.
on mute, Amarjeet.
Yes. This is a very interesting question, actually. As threats are increasing day by day, and they are getting more innovative. Like, see, we as a defenders, we are bound by the rules. Hackers are not bound by the rules. They are not bound by any framework. They are not bound by. It is like an open sesame for them. How to beat that? There is no thumb rule that we have to do it, but definitely we can do something. What is that something is? First, the most important thing is understand your own business. Normally, what happens? I have seen many security leaders. They are so engrossed in their security things, like they live, breathe everything security, but that if you ask them anything about their business, they don't know anything. So first thing is understand your own business. Understand your data flows, which is going across the organization. Do not rest on your past laurels. Be agile. Be learning and evolving. Your cybersecurity strategy should reflect mixture of all 3 C's: collaboration, competence, and co-creation. So if you do not collaborate with your business stakeholders, it will not help. If you like that collaboration and your own competence and making best use of that, you will be able to create the best mixture for your organization. Then making best use of the threat intelligence feeds. See, you may be getting threat intelligence feed from multiple places, but to whom you give precedence, how you act upon it, what inputs you take it, that is also very important, because it should not become like one of the service, okay, we are getting one more junk mail every day. No, it should not be like that. Then your strategy should be multidimensional, and it should not merely be limited to the, what I should say, deployment of the tools. You may have the best state of the art of the tools, but tools and technology are just one aspect. what it should also encompass is the trainings, rotation of teams between blue team and red team experiences. Then enriching your data governance. Like if your security strategy is not in line with data governance, you don't know security, because you are actually only just 50%. So for completing your data security, it should intermingle with your cybersecurity strategy. Then you should have continuous review of your controls and processes instead of mandated time period, like say yearly exercise. You can tweak the all your processes, technology, controls as per the business needs. It should not be like your control should not be like a fetters on the pathway to the business. It should act as a business enabler. You should say to the businesses, please tell us what you want and let's build the things around it so that we grow with that. I think that's all.
Okay. Thank you, Amarjeet, and that was an excellent thought you have shared. With this thought, like we are moving to Iyer. What firewall are we using, and does it incorporate the latest in threat detection and prevention technology? Mr. Iyer, over to you.
Yeah. See, first we have to understand, as it was various co-panelists clearly mentioned, we have to understand where we stand today. That's number one. Number two, what is required as far the business requirements are concerned. Because being a manufacturing, the last 4 years only, we started focusing on deploying security with the right frame of mind. So the frame of mind of, I'm not talking about the security team, I'm talking about the management, the employee, and people like CIOs also started thinking more on security in the last 4 to 5 years. To my knowledge, with the right kind of roadmap setting to various other things. When you are talking about having what you are having today, first we have to understand where we stand today, number one. Number two, we have to see how exposed we are, where all we are exposed to. That understanding of the existing flow of data is also very crucial. And number three, what kind of network we have, because we have many facilities available over and above. We have SD-WAN is also in place, and we have in the last 2.5 to 3 years we have moved away from on-prem or co-location to cloud. If you consider all these three, and the last 18 months, collaboration has gone to touch its peak, because including the senior management, they are ready to collaborate, and many of our budget meeting, everything is going on. So having said that, what level of security level we have achieved is, you can say, more than average. But as for the data center, where the data is available to the larger extent, we have ensured that we are protected to the extent possible. If you are talking about collaboration tool, we have O365, and we have options of connecting using multiple devices. So for the senior management people who are always on the move, we have given multi-factor authentication, many other facilities. And our business is such a way that we are very close to our customers. And our customer interaction and data exchange between us and our customer are so heavy in nature, because there's so much of automation in place. We have every plant has got two internet lines, one MPLS, and then we have LTE as a fallback, which is using SD-WAN. We are in a position to monitor, and then not only that, it has also all related security related things also enabled. But being a very traditional way of manufacturing, way of thinking, we have segregated our internal LAN into 3 zones, one for silence, one for IoT, the other one is for transactional engineering things. which runs only on MPLS as far as transactions are concerned, so that we are not moving away, because with internet you cannot come inside my MPLS land. We have not given any provision for that also. So in the last 4 years, as we have graduated, but yes, we have a long way to catch up.
Wow. So that's a very good journey of 4 years. Thank you. I wanted to understand more, but we have a very short time, so we have a limited time, 4 minutes left now. So I want to ask quick question with Ajay. Ajay, if you can answer it very crisp. When there is an active attack, every second matters. It's not only important to block the attack, but finding the root cause is equally important. CIOs are struggling with two major challenges related to threat response, storage, or skilled manpower. Overburdened IT team, what is your approach for incident response? Because that's a very common problem across. Over to you.
Well, thanks, Kapil, again. And I think, it's been a good learning journey. People have covered various aspects, the practicality, and then the wisdom of the keeping close to the end user. I think from the question, Kapil, which you asked, right, absolutely the thing which worry me and actually gives literally sleepless nights is the response time we take typically, because as you said, every second matters. The how do you keep things simple and agile? So because you can bring as many tools as you want, but the advanced persistent threats which are there, they can circumvent pretty much anything. So it's a question of when you get attacked. It's not a question of whether. So the response time becomes very critical. And I think somebody also mentioned about playbooks, and I will, Satyavrat, I will catch up with you. I think that's the paramount. We have to keep things simple, segregated. We should be knowing, but not figuring out at that time. We should have a simple playbook. We may have not covered many aspects, but at least we would have just ran through it. It's like that muscle memory which is required, which takes minimal time than what you would do thinking. So that part has to be handled. And therefore, everybody talks about automation. So, there is an aspect of, are we 100% covered? People come and go in the teams change. Some people have the admin access, some have privilege access. Then obviously anybody other than that, from the targeted audience to anybody who would have the data. So I think whether it's a leak or whether it's an attack, there has to be simple automations done, right? Some of the things which we have done is try to reduce the time. I'm just taking this as one example because there are many and we have a long way to catch. And I think in the interest of time, we have done built-in bots using RPA to deploy patches. Earlier, the team, the STL is distributed across countries. And the people availability and all that. That's where the bot comes into picture and has significantly reduced multiple times over from what it used to take to now, which we are deploying patches. As you know, this patch, as I talked about sleepless nights, the patch, an advisory comes, a patch gets released at 2 a.m. Like talking about the 2 a.m. aspect, Kapil, you need to figure out a way that, something picks it up, not wait till morning, trying to get the availability of people and try to start planning out the deployment. So it sees the patch, sees the CV, tries to figure out where the patches are not deployed and then deploy it. And it is possible. We have done it. There are certain failures, but we have to, from which will get laid out because how the tools behave. But that journey has significantly reduced. So that's just one example of giving that, the reduction of time.
I have a very limited time. Thank you. I have very limited time. But your practice, what you are telling is excellent. I think we should spend more time and learn from you. And 30 seconds I'll take, like what I do is, like as Pawan said, like human intelligence is important and everybody we are agreeing today. So what I did it by attack to hona hai. Like one day somebody will face this, right? So there is a laundry list, like after incident response. I have made a laundry list and made that checklist like is deployed on every desk. in IT. If tomorrow something you have
some sort of automation, Kapil, to talk about, you cannot do, humans cannot do. I think the automation has to come, has to happen.
Correct.
And we have a long way to catch up.
Correct. Okay, so with this, let's move to the Deepak. Deepak, you have only 1 minute. I'm so sorry. We are running short with the time. So I have a special question for you. Is all sensitive data secure? Because you belongs to bank. I wanted to hear from you more about that, like storage and where you are transmitting that, and how you are basically checking your backed up data routinely.
This is easiest to answer. I'll answer that in 10 seconds because we are a regulated entity. We do everything that Satya, does at Godrej, right? But let's understand what is sensitive data. Any data that reveals my identity, my ethnicity, data related to my health status or biometric or debit credit card, etc., requires encryption. And the regulator is very clear. And most banks are following this because it's also a compliance requirement. Data that is at rest needs to be encrypted. Data that is on the wire, which is between your client and server, needs to be encrypted. So we enable things like TLS or HTTPS, etc. And data that's on the table also, we do what's called as table level encryption. Right, simple things like enabling SSL for all the data that is written to the database or data that logs that are written to the disk. It's all encrypted, and we also encrypt all the backups. So even if a backup is lost, nobody can do anything with it. We have passphrases, symmetric, asymmetric keys. So all the everything that's on the playbook we implement.
Okay, excellent. And any last thought, Makesh? I can see you now. So any last thought you want to share?
Nothing specific, Kapil. I think it was wonderful listening points from all the peers. I think nothing can match that. I think the wisdom of all 7 to 8 people who have shared tremendous information, and it's a learning. I think more or less, I think we are crisscrossing with each other. I think some of the points we are aware, some of the points we are doing, but some pointers which might have actually fallen back because of the other priorities. Now we have to pick it up. So as basic as something when Ajay was talking about like people move in and out, I think that was a jitter which came to my mind. Yes, of course, I think we do a lot of handholding and a lot of stuffs, but whether we do a proper structural check to ensure that nothing is getting missed out, to pull out the string from the people who are moving out and hand it over to the new person is something which I need to go back and check. So likewise, I think every pointers, I think because of overburdened and overwhelming assignments which are happening, I think we tend to forget it. Sometimes it goes into the back burner of our priorities. I think that is something which we need to ensure going forward. I think we have to live with that risk. But otherwise, it was wonderful talking. I don't think I have anything specific to talk about it. More or less, I think my peers have already covered most of the points.
Thank you, Makesh. Every time hearing you is great pleasure. You have a very excellent knowledge about the cybersecurity. Satyavrat, your innovation, hats off to that, like what you have shared. And Ajay, Amarjeet, Iyer, Pawan, Dheepak, everyone is a great speaker. And today I learned a lot. With this, I'll take a pause here and we are done for today. Over to Kavya.
Thank you very much, Kapil. And thank you very much to all of our leaders, our panelists who joined in. I think we managed to actually